Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today, I have the topic of 7 ways to make better decisions after a relationship with a narcissist. And this can be a relationship with family members or significant partners or any kind of relationship that you may have, like with a friend or whatnot. These 7 ways are going to hopefully illuminate some of the potential caveats of the relationship with narcissism itself, as well as highlight the decisions that reflect ways that I was able to change my mindset. Because really that's the biggest part of dealing with narcissism, is learning how to reframe your mindset and to stay within your own presence and have that inner peace. And number 1 would be to choose to treat yourself with respect. Now, a lot of times when after a narcissistic relationship, it's almost like you don't even remember how to respect yourself. And it's almost like you don't even know what it's like to have self-respect. And so I recommend you groom yourself and to take care of your body and just to be clean, eat healthier, learn new things, try new things. One thing that I did was really getting into playing guitar, and that was really not only an emotional outlet for me, but also just a creative outlet in general. And I was able to channel that kind of modality, you could say, into my healing process. And also another thing that you could do is to understand that narcissists do not respect themselves, and they cannot and will not respect you. When you are able to really understand that, that's when you can set yourself free from the relationship. Number 2 is stop deflecting accountability. Even codependents find it difficult to take accountability after being in a relationship with a narcissist, in my experience. And the reason why is because when you take accountability, you also infer that you made decisions on your part that led you to living the life that you didn't want to live. And as Gandhi said, that one must become as humble as the dust to discover truth. So narcissists are absolutely experts at deflection and misdirection. And I really had to unlearn what I learned in order to get to where I wanted to be and become and strive to be a man of God. I realized that there were many things that I was doing that was holding myself back. And I had I just had trouble communicating with people because I had a lot of hard times. I had a lot of difficulty trusting that there were good intentions on the other side. And because a lot of times people just want to take something from you. They want to ride the wave of your successes in the hopes to, get a little bit of whatever you've got, that little charisma or zest of life, whatever it is. They just want that. So I became very weary and untrusting of people, and it took me a long time to forgive myself for the mistakes that I made, and also to accept that I'm capable of forgiveness, and for even with the mistakes that I did make. And just because I made bad decisions doesn't necessarily mean that I'm a bad person. But if I want to be better, then I'm going to have to be able to not only take accountability for those bad mistakes and those bad decisions and forgive myself for making those mistakes and bad decisions, but also learn from the mistakes and what not to do next time and what I can improve on to increase the likelihood of success afterward. So that was a big thing for me to learn about, and something that I really never was really taught how to do properly. So number 3 is don't fear disapproval and don't argue with people that don't want to see you succeed. Because Well, what exactly is there to fear if you know that God is on your side? And I don't say that to have a religious spirit, because a lot of times, everybody thinks that they're not average when they are, right? And I can accept that there are many aspects of myself that are average. There are many aspects of my socioeconomic status that is average. There's aspects of my just my relationships that are more or less average, but that doesn't make them that doesn't mean that they're not meaningful, and it doesn't mean that they can't be improved. And it doesn't mean that I don't have those higher qualities in other areas of my life, and I cannot develop other skills to improve upon. But I also understand that arguing with people to try to make myself be liked is completely a waste of time. And it's a waste of your time too if you're doing that. So, and don't, when I say don't fear disapproval, it's like not everybody's meant to like you, and you're not meant to like everybody else. We all have enemies of some kind, and that's just the demonic side of reality and spirituality. There's a true, like, something about narcissism that revealed to me is like evil and malevolence really is real. And to mistake it to be unreal is it's a mistake, because you end up becoming that which you want to destroy, right? This is it's like in Star Wars when, I know this is a weird example, but this is what's coming to mind. It's like when Star Wars, when, like, before Anakin becomes Darth Vader, he's trying to save the people that he loves from their fate, but when he fails to do so, he ends up becoming so enraged with hatred and fear and lack of control and all of these other things that he actually ends up becoming the things that he swore to destroy. So that leads me to number 4, which is don't hide from your problems and stop telling people about your problems. This is something I really had to work on, because I always felt like I wasn't heard or I wasn't seen a lot. And when you don't have that, like, sometimes when you don't feel heard, it takes a long time to unravel what you've got going on in your mind. And when you don't feel like you can express that and articulate that with precision, or that you'll be judged just because of who you are, then that can lead you to a lot of different dark paths. But believe me, the more you hide yourself in the dark, the harder it's going to be to come into the light, and the more blinding it will be as well. So unless you're talking to a life coach or a professional therapist or a trainer of some kind, I would recommend stop telling people about your problems, because in reality, some people are glad that you're not where you want to be. And that's an unfortunate fact, and we have to deal with it somehow. And number 5 is prepare for potential confrontations and negotiations. So understand that as spiritual beings, we truly do have more enemies than we can imagine. And shame is a primary tactic that narcissists use by making berating comments that can be disguised as a joke at your expense. And, in my experience, this is more of a covert narcissistic tactic, whereas an overt would just outright blatantly tell you that you're insane, or that you're crazy, or that you're insensitive, all those things. And but like when they say something and you call them out on it and you stand your ground, and they say, "Oh, well, I was just joking." It's like, well, yeah, it didn't really feel like a joke though. And I don't think that, like, because there's a difference between a joke at somebody else's expense and making a berating comment, because sometimes people will make a judgment in a form of a question, which it really isn't a question, but they'll act as if they're asking you a question and you have to defend your character. But what I think that this is one of the most insidious forms of narcissism, because it attacks your very core of life, and it attacks your very core of just being. And it's not a joke. And because a joke isn't like, you can tease someone, right? Like, you can tease someone. There's a difference between teasing someone and berating a person's character. You can tease somebody about, them being clumsy or something, but if they're like actually going through something and you laugh at their pain and you get joy, it's not even joy, you get a pleasure from watching somebody suffer, that's sadistic. That's disgusting. That's not humane. That's not empathetic at all. Number 6 is, do not be attached to outcomes. Lots of times there are reasons that we stay with narcissists that we don't quite understand. And my view on it is that it's because we're conditioned to seek their approval and their affection. But this is really a cognitive dissonance. And what I mean by that is that your nervous system is not communicating properly with your brain. There's it's like the input doesn't really match the output, and the output doesn't match the input, because a narcissist tries to scramble your brain, right? It tries to warp your reality. And when you're able to have a linear understanding of time, then that puts their mask and their image at risk, because if you can trace the steps and you can say, no, this was what happened, X, Y, and Z, fact-based, not emotional-based, fact-based, then what choice do they have to say other than to deflect or to cower away or to just attack your character? They don't have anything else. So if people are doing this, learn, it's very important to understand when you're trying to get somebody's approval and why you're doing it. Like, why am I trying to get this person's approval that doesn't really even care about me? That's a legitimate question that I had to ask myself at one point. And it was mind-blowing, because I didn't take myself to be that kind of person, then to actually realize that I was trying to get affection from someone that really, really didn't want to be in my life anyway. It was so confusing, because their words would never match their actions and their actions would never match their words. But every time I tried to confront about it, there was this it was like just being in their presence made my reasoning be dismantled, because there is no logic in the narcissist's behavior. There's just none at all. And in a previous video, I mentioned that they're basically black holes, and I stand by that. These narcissists, they are literally life-sucking forces that I do not think have a soul or that are natural. Which leads me to better decision number 7, which is to be the warrior of God in the room. People around you will feel a lot more peace and stability, but also remembering that when you are fearless, hellish things will flee from you. And that's very useful to understand and know, because the more that you understand the world is spiritual, the more you understand that you are communicating not just with people, but with the demons or the spirits in them, that is when you start to understand that, like, the multi levels of reality. And this is why I think that for men, well, actually, just in general, I think celibacy is so important to healing in the healing process, and to abstain from relationships until you're healed, at least, like, physical and intimate relationships. I think one of the most important things to do during that time is to heal. And when you're conserving your essence, you definitely operate at a different level of reality, and you're able to see the multifaceted behaviors of human cognition and human action, and understand, like, really how worldly we really are as a society, and how it's just so many people are taught to glorify demonic things, and then they're taught to dismiss the people that are bearing responsibility. And that makes the people that are bearing responsibility not want to have any authority. Because who wants responsibility and no authority? So, being the warrior in the room, the warrior of God in the room, people will, and this is something I didn't really understand until the last year or so, but people will, like, you'll just light up the room, even if you're just standing there. You're not doing anything necessarily, but people will be bothered by just your presence, because you carry a kind of, well, you carry a presence and a knowledge of the source of creation. That's so powerful, and just your presence alone is going to bother people's spirits and demons. And I know that this can be kind of like a religious type message to some people, but I truly do think that not thinking this way actually hinders your spiritual ascension. And so the more you are fearless, which is very, like, people, have you ever noticed that the fearless people, like, when things happen, they are completely, like, in the moment, ready to go. There is no, like, they have the type of attitude of, like, all right, like, this is what's happening. We need to do X, Y, and Z in order to get this done. And they have a very strategic plan that they can create in a matter of seconds. And it's oftentimes those people that can deal with the crisis. You oftentimes see the glory of God in the actions themselves. Maybe not in the people necessarily. Of course, people can make heroic actions day to day. I do believe that. But what I'm saying is that you can see that the power of God and the power of goodness and true justice and true leadership and discipline comes in those moments. And being fearless in those moments is what makes you the leader, instead of, and because in the Bible it even says the righteous are bold as a lion. A lion will never flee. Like, have you guys seen those videos of lions, like, fighting in a pack or something? Holy crap. They do not fight. They do not flee. They will stand and fight, even if they're outnumbered, like 1-5. I saw this one video of a lion. It was a very young male lion, and they were outnumbered by 5 different, like, higher, like, really strong male lions. And yeah, like, the male lion that was trying to defend its territory itself died. But you live by the sword, you die by the sword, kind of a thing with lions. And I think it's the same with those that are living with God to some degree, because even Jesus says that he came to bring a sword, right, to the righteous. And I think that's exactly what it means to make better decisions in life, is to understand how to, instead of denying and refusing accountability, know how to regain and stay strong in those times of peril. So, and to have courage in those times. So, with that being said, I hope this message was useful, and I hope you had a few different kinds of insights throughout the message. And with that being said, may peace be with you till next time.